Okay, hello and welcome to my video documenting my first open source GitHub project contribution. For my first issue, I selected the CrowCPP repository. My team and I use this framework for our final data structures and algorithms project, and we found it incredibly useful and helpful. And because of this, I wanted to find a way to give back to this community. Crow, to give you some background, is an open source header-only framework that allows web apps to be built with a C++ backend. It's similar to a more well-known Flask framework, which performs the same function but for Python backends. This Crow project was first launched in 2017 and has grown to nearly 4,000 stars and over 144 contributors. Let's take a look at the structure of the repository. See, there's a lot of settings and README files, license files, and directories. The only one we're really interested in is the include directory. This directory contains all the header files needed to implement Crow in a new project. As you can see, all the header files are very neatly named after the functionalities that they deal with, which makes it easy to navigate and troubleshoot. The one we're going to be primarily looking at is the multipart.h file. That's because the issue that I chose to work on reported problems with the way Crow parses multipart form data. This is a type of HTTP data or content type that's very commonly used by websites. In short, Crow throws an error when parsing this type of data, this error here. It throws this error when the data does not end at the very end of the data stream, doesn't have a final carriage return line feed or CRLF delimiter. This is a bug because the specification that defines the formatting of multipart form data considers this final delimiter to be optional. Therefore, Crow should be treating data with or without this delimiter at the very end as valid. So to get started, I familiarized myself with the structure and the source code. Eventually, I was able to narrow down the issue to this function called parse body in the multipart.h header file. I initially thought the solution could be as simple as a single line of code. Of course, it turned out to be more complex than that. After testing a lot of different possible solutions, I settled on a method of detecting a final boundary in addition to the normal delimiter between data sections. I also added a Boolean trigger as a flag that would trigger when the final boundary was reached, and it would terminate processing the data. In addition, the final issue that I ran into was determining when to terminate the processing. In this case, I realized that it was detecting both a normal and final boundary at the same time at the end of the data stream. So I changed the check for this to prioritize, in that case, processing the final boundary first and flipping the flag to true and terminating the process. This prevented it from iterating again and then finding an invalid set of characters and throwing the error. Once this all came together, it finally worked, and I submitted this solution as a pull request linked to the issue. Currently, it passed all tests and is just waiting for a manual review so it can be merged into the main branch. Also, this is the original and the currently released version of the function for Crow, and this is my updated code, which can be found in the pull request. Some aspects of this project that went according to plan were that only one function file needed to be worked on to fix the problem. Also, the flow of finding an issue, forking, and submitting a pull request per the GitHub guide worked perfectly. An aspect that did not work well and was an unexpected roadblock was the initial setup of Crow locally in my CLion environment. I spent about a week trying to get Crow to work properly with CLion and the min.gw compiler that comes with it. I was never able to get that to work. I searched exhaustively through documentation, Crow forums, etc., tried a dozen different fixes with no success. I finally concluded that the current release of Crow is not compatible with the min.gw compiler. Once I switched to MSVC and Visual Studio, I was able to get up and running quickly. This project was a great learning experience, taught me how to navigate an open source community, identify issues I can help with, and correctly clone, fork, and submit pull requests. I would encourage anybody to try to contribute to an open source project.